This is Valley News Live at 10.
As a mother, I'm supposed to protect my child, and I failed her. And then we went into survival mode, my husband and I did.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I am Nashay Taylor. It's every parent's worst nightmare. Tonight, a Fargo couple is sharing their story after losing a child. Now they're taking their heartbreak and using it to create an organization to help other grieving families. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockie has this emotional story.
After a year of fertility treatments, Ashley and Chad Thompson found out they'd be welcoming a baby girl to the family. While the two expected their first child to flip their lives upside down, they never imagined it would go like this.
We thought we were laboring, and it turned out that we had a placental abruption. From that, we had an emergency C-section, and it was just too late.
Ashley and Chad were given 11 hours with the child they'd carried to term before having to let her go.
Confused. What did I do wrong? So much guilt. We lost Adeline right before the pandemic. And so then there was a lot of isolation too that went with this.
As a mental health worker, Ashley began looking for resources to help her family cope through the tough time. She says she was shocked to see how few options there were for moms, even fewer for dads.
How can we honor our daughter moving forward? And that's when the conversation really started.
And Addie's Angels was born. The Thompsons decided they'd use their story and Ashley's expertise to start a nonprofit supporting families like their own. It's one of two blessings they say are a part of their guardian angels plan.
3.5 months after we lost her, we found out that we were pregnant again.
A year after Adeline was born, almost to the day, the Thompsons welcomed their son, Cooper Adler. They say it's why they're giving families a place to work through trauma, so they're not afraid to try again for a miracle. Courtney Lockie, Valley News Live.
Addie's Angels is now serving clients. They have counselors in Fargo, Grand Forks, and the Wabrick area. Online services are also available. For much more information about the nonprofit, head over to our website at valleynewslive.com. Meanwhile, Maryland officials will review all in-person custody death reports during the tenure of the state's former chief medical examiner. This comes after testimony he gave for the defense during the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Dr. David Fowler was chief medical examiner from 2002 to 2019 and served as a key defense witness during the trial, testifying that he classified George Floyd's death as undetermined rather than homicide. He also said that Floyd died of a sudden heart rhythm disturbance as a result of heart disease, and he raised the possibility of carbon monoxide exposure from vehicle exhaust. The Baltimore Sun reports that Dr. Fowler's statements prompted former Washington, D.C. chief medical examiner Roger Mitchell to send a letter signed by over 400 doctors to Maryland's attorney general, calling for an independent review of people who died while in police custody during Fowler's time as state chief medical examiner. Outrage is growing following another officer-involved shooting death of a black man, this time a father in North Carolina. And now family, city officials, and even the governor are calling for the release of body camera footage showing just what happened that day. Kathy Park is following the story.
No justice! No peace! What's his name? Andrew Brown!
Tonight, calls for justice and growing pressure to release body camera footage after deputies shot and killed Andrew Brown Jr.
We are demanding that we have transparency and accountability.
Elizabeth city officials will file a formal request with the Sheriff's Department Monday, requesting the footage be turned over to them and the public.
And if denied, the request is to be forwarded to the district attorney's office as well as to Superior Court.
Sheriff Tommy Wooten wants the footage released too.
Our county will file a motion in court, hopefully Monday.
Wednesday, Pasquotank County Sheriff's deputies were attempting to serve Brown a search and arrest warrant on felony drug charges when shots were fired.
Got one male, 42 years of age, gunshot to the back.
7 deputies are now on administrative leave, and the sheriff said 3 other deputies have left the department, but their decision was not related to the shooting. None of the individuals have been identified.
If evidence shows that any of my deputies violated the law or policies, they will be held accountable
But as more time passes, frustration is building, especially for family who are waiting to see what happened during Brown's last moments.
My nephew did not deserve that. Say his name.
Andrew Brown.
The governor joining the calls for accountability, tweeting, "The death of Brown is extremely concerning, and the footage should be made public as quickly as possible." Elizabeth City now the latest community on edge after a deadly law enforcement shooting.
A motel in Grand Forks has an estimated $30,000 worth of damages after a fire last night. The Grand Forks Fire Department was dispatched to Ambassador Motel on the 2100 block of South Washington Street just before 9:30 p.m. for a report of a structure fire. Fire crews found 2 areas of the motel that were on fire. The cause is currently under investigation. The building was vacant at the time. The Ambassador Motel was recently deemed unsafe and condemned by the city, leaving more than 30 people who live there looking for a new place to stay. This school year will go down as one like no other. According to the National Education Association, millions of students have fallen behind academically during an unprecedented year that pulled them from their everyday school. Educators say now is the time parents should evaluate and consider their options. To fight the pandemic-related learning loss, many districts in the Valley will provide opportunities this summer.
If a parent has a concern about academic loss or anything with social emotional learning, I would highly encourage them to at least take a nice look at what is available this summer.
For more information on summer learning opportunities, head over to our website or download the VNL News app. Johnson & Johnson vaccine was pulled for safety concerns of blood clotting. Now it has been reinstated for use. Sam Brock has more on this.
After 10 days on pause, Johnson & Johnson is back following a handful of serious blood clot cases. But as people lined up for their vaccine appointments, some expressed concern.
I don't know if I'm that rare case.
I don't want to get it.
This despite strong backing from the CDC that it's safe.
The American public should feel reassured about the safety systems and protocols that we have in place around the COVID-19 vaccines.
J&J has been linked to 3 deaths and 15 cases of severe blood clots, all involving women. The CDC says a deeper dive shows 1.9 adverse outcomes out of every million doses for women 18 to 49. For those 50 and up, it's a microscopic 0.9 cases.
Unfortunately, I could be that 0.9. That's the way that's the way I'm thinking about it.
But even for those who want it, finding the single-dose vaccine right now proved elusive.
We actually asked them whether they had it, and they told us that it was approved, but they would get it between 2 and 3 days.
Roughly half of all states have notified the public they're restarting the use of the J&J vaccine. But for some, redistribution will take time. Though some local providers, like Ivan's Pharmacy on New York's Upper West Side, had surplus J&J ready to go. And tonight, Ivan Jourdain is vaccinating his customers.
This violin here is the key to life and to your future and the health and well-being of our community and our society, period, especially for people of color. We have to go out and get this vaccine.
CVS and Walgreens tell NBC News they'll make appointments available for J&J starting next week. But the true battle may be combating overall vaccine hesitancy. Vaccination sites from North Carolina to Texas and Ohio to Georgia are closing due to lack of demand.
Coming up, some of the Valley News Live crew did some volunteering today. Stick with us to find out how they're helping feed the local youth. And your weekend forecast is coming up next. Summer has a look at what's coming.